self-care warriors. Welcome back to Self-Care Haven. Today I wanted to talk to you about female narcissists and women with histrionic traits. Now, there's a lot of controversy about the diagnosis of histrionic personality disorder. Some people find it sexist. Some people think that it pathologizes a lot of the social conditioning that women are subjected to, and they are conditioned to act a certain way in order to gain validation and approval from society, and therefore they shouldn't be judged or shamed for engaging in behaviors that are associated with histrionic personality disorder. Now, this critique is completely valid, and I completely understand where that comes from. However, I do think that there is a certain type of personality that goes just beyond social conditioning and internalized misogyny, and I do think that it needs to be addressed because these are very extreme traits and behaviors that go way beyond social conditioning and just internalized misogyny. I do think that there are legitimately people out there who have these traits and behaviors to such an extreme pathological extent that it's not just a case of a woman acting out her social conditioning, because men can also be diagnosed with histrionic personality disorder. We can get into diagnostic biases and gender stereotypes, but at the end of the day, if someone's behavior is problematic and harmful enough where it harms friendships, harms romantic relationships, harms your overall functioning, harms innocent people, then I think it needs to be addressed. And I think that we need to acknowledge what types of behaviors are problematic, what types of traits can become toxic if they are a reoccurring pattern in relationships. So because this video is focusing on women with histrionic traits, I will be focusing on women, but just keep in mind that men can also display these traits as well. It's not just women who can display these traits. However, I think it is helpful to talk about how a woman's histrionic and or narcissistic traits can play out in female friendships, because I do think that is a realm where a lot of women get victimized by other women with histrionic traits, and it's not talked about often as often as it should be, because it gets dismissed as, like I mentioned earlier, internalized misogyny, or women are just acting out their social conditioning, or women are just being catty. Now, there's certainly a spectrum of these behaviors, and there are women who grow out of these kinds of behaviors with time, and they mature and they realize what they've been doing, and they look at themselves very honestly, and they're able to dismantle these behaviors and traits within themselves every day. But then there's women who never grow out of it, who actually get more aggressive as time goes on, who never really mature out of these behaviors, who have a pathological need to be at the center of attention at all times and will do anything to get it. And that's what I think we should be addressing, is that there is an extreme end of the spectrum where this behavior is a reoccurring pattern. It's often very permanent. And while it can be worked on, the person in question is often unwilling to work on them and look at themselves honestly enough in order to dismantle these behaviors. So a woman with histrionic traits will be very uncomfortable when she's not at the center of attention. So if you, for example, as a heterosexual female, if you are a heterosexual female watching this video, you may relate to this scenario. You know, you have a girlfriend, a friend who you go out with, and what are they doing? Anytime a guy pays attention to you, they try to take the attention off of you, and they try to flirt, and they try to make sure that they're the ones who get the attention, because they can't stand when someone other than them gets the attention. And that is very, very deflating. It's very minimizing for the women who are in friendships with these types of individuals. And I'm talking about you got organic attention from this person. They were all laser focused on you, and your friend attempts to, and doesn't always succeed in, trying to get that attention off of you and back onto them, and recenters themselves. And this doesn't just happen in romantic scenarios or dating situations. It can also happen in just everyday situations. If you have a overwhelming crisis, you are experiencing some sort of medical emergency, for example, or some sort of very terrifying ordeal, and your female friend with histrionic traits decides, no, I'm going to be the one who's the center of attention, and they may fabricate their own illnesses. They may tell stories that aren't actually true just to get the attention off of you. They may draw false equivalencies between what you're going through and what they're going through. And I'm not saying that what they're going through is not traumatic, because it could very well be, but these types tend to jump the gun and really equate situations that are in no way equal to each other just to seem like they're the ones who are suffering and to play the victim when in actuality you are the one who is going through so much. And women with histrionic traits constantly need this reassurance and approval from others. So you may see them performing, you may see them overacting, you may see them display fleeting, shallow emotions a lot, and they lack sincerity when they're doing this. You can tell there's a kind of exaggeration in their voice that doesn't quite meet their eyes. And they're extremely self-centered. They only want to talk about themselves all the time. Unless it serves them in some way, their favorite topic of conversation is themselves. They can't really display authentic empathy because they're so consumed with themselves and they're so consumed with the idea of getting attention from others. Because if you're dealing with a heterosexual female narcissist or someone with histrionic traits, you're dealing with someone who can't stand to not be the person who is at the center of the universe. And so they will go to extreme lengths and engage in inappropriate behavior to get the attention that they desire. And by inappropriate behavior, I don't just mean inappropriate sexual behavior. I also mean all other types of behaviors that may seem very bizarre and absurd. So one of the things that I wanted to mention but didn't get to in this video also is that these types of women will throw innocent women under the bus just for the attention of men. And that includes defending abusers, predators, and enabling them just so they can be chosen. They display a lot of pick-me behavior. I mean behaviors like making up stories to make it seem like you are more of a victim than you actually are. I'm talking about only coming to the rescue so that you seem like the hero when everybody else did all the work behind closed doors. I'm talking about imagining that relationships are actually closer than they actually are and feeling like you have to do everything possible to remain at the center. Otherwise, you're going to somehow fall to pieces or even cease to exist if you don't get the attention that you want. I'm talking about behaviors like deliberately going after partnered individuals because you want to one-up the person that they're with. And this is not to place the entire blame on the histrionic female because we know that everyone is accountable for their own behavior. So if you engage in morally depraved behaviors like infidelity for no good reason, then of course you are responsible for that. But I'm also talking about situations where the histrionic female attempts and fails. They can go after a partnered individual, but that partnered individual may not have any interest in them at all. But the fact that they went after them in the first place, especially if that partnered individual happens to be the partner of one of their close friends or family members, then that is an extremely disgusting behavior that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be called out for what it is. Now, some people will try to justify these types of behaviors as a result of childhood trauma. Oh, they were traumatized as a child, they didn't know any better. As you become an adult, you are responsible for your behaviors. You are responsible for seeking therapy if you think that your behavior is harming others or yourself. And if you're not doing so, then you are fully accountable for whatever you choose to do in life. There are many traumatized individuals out there who don't engage in these types of behaviors, who actively will go out of their way to make sure that they don't sabotage relationships of others. And then there are people like a female with histrionic and or narcissistic traits who may have a combination of both narcissism and histrionic traits, who lacks empathy, who acts entitled, who feels like they're the only ones who are deserving and worthy of the attention and will make sure that they get the praise when other people are actually doing the work, who will play the hero when it serves them but are nowhere to be found when the actual work is to be done, who will try to belittle you and devalue you and make themselves look better in comparison because they know that you're a threat. These types of women will dim your light just to make themselves shine brighter. And that's the real harm, is that despite their intentions, despite their motives, even if they do have empathy and they're different from a narcissist, their actions still have real consequences. Their actions still harm others. Their actions harm other women. Their actions harm women who have been there for them for their whole lives. And this can destroy friendships. It can destroy familial relationships. So it's important to call out these behaviors, the harm that they cause, and also encourage people to get help if they feel like they are willing to work on these behaviors and look within themselves. At the same time, if you are in a situation where you're in a female friendship with someone like this, or you have a family member who's like this, or a coworker or a boss, find ways to engage in self-care, healthy boundaries, and detach and exit from the relationship if this is a reoccurring pattern, because you don't deserve to be harmed. You don't deserve for your light to be dimmed just so someone else can feel better about themselves. If this woman with histrionic or narcissistic traits feels like the only way that they can feel accomplished is by devaluing your accomplishments, or by minimizing what you have achieved in life, or by trying to hide your beauty and strengths, or shame you for being visible at all, then that is not a true friend, it's not a true family member, it's not a true boss or a true coworker with integrity. And if you're someone who has empathy, who has integrity, and gives generously to others, you certainly don't deserve that type of disrespect, regardless of what disorder they may have or may not have, regardless of whatever childhood trauma they may have or not have, regardless of their history. If they're disrespectful, they're disrespectful, and if they're causing harm in your life, then you deserve to detach from them. You deserve freedom from their toxicity. You deserve friendships and relationships and familial relationships that nourish you, that make you feel like you deserve to be visible, that make you feel like you deserve to shine, that support you in your dreams, your goals, your values, and your romantic relationships and your friendships and support networks. So I hope this video has helped you. If you have an experience with a woman who has had narcissistic or histrionic traits and you'd like to share, please feel free to do so in the comment section below. If you have insights on how you think you would differentiate narcissism from histrionic personality disorder, please feel free to share that as well. I hope you're having a great start to the holiday season. I'll talk to you guys very soon, and until next time, take care.